Hi, welcome. Today, just thinking about a lot of things swirling in my head. I got the Snake Eyes reaction video out there, and or breakdown of the trailer, basically, and just been thinking about a lot of things. So I'm kind of calling this one Fat Thor's Day and the Soul Stone. Some things you'll see in this video. I've watched some reaction videos, and it reminded me of a scene from a movie that just like tears my guts out. I got about in the next 5 weeks about 3 supply preaching opportunities. Some thoughts on that. I've got a little bit of inspiration for a new cosplay kit that I'm starting to work on, and I'll share a little bit about what that is and what that means. Race and fitness stuff, and just some other observations. I'm gonna try to keep it short and sweet, but first, I like to watch some of the different reaction channels. One I watch is Natalie Gold out there, and a few others, and she recently got to the point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where she watched the first part of Avengers Endgame, and I had almost forgotten about the scene, and I shouldn't have, because I'd seen it recently because it was just on TV. They were playing it a bunch, and it's just the scene where Thor goes back and sees his mother. And when he says, "I'm not supposed to be like everyone else, am I?" And then Frigga's words just kill me. Everyone fails at who they're supposed to be. The measure of a person, of a hero, is how well they succeed at being who they are. And I struggle. I struggle with what I'm supposed to be. Probably a subject for a longer video at another time, but that gets right into the next point. The struggle of supply preaching or filling a pulpit. I was called to ministry at probably the age of 15 or 16, but I never felt like all those folks that I saw in my Baptist Christian college or even in seminary that were just convinced from the start that they were called to preach, just to preach. I mean, I ended up with opportunities to preach and to fill a pulpit from time to time, but and now at this stage of my life, it's just way more complicated, because when you're called to supply preach, it's like doing a one-shot sermon. There's this whole trend that talks about, being an expository preacher, that, just taking the next passage that comes in the text and just preaching it, for better or for worse, for however it comes out, just preaching through the Bible like that. And that's not a luxury you're really afforded when you're supply preaching, because you're there for 1, maybe 2 Sundays at most, and so it gets difficult. I've developed kind of a method. This first one out of the 3 this Sunday will be kind of probably the easier one, because I was with them about a month and a half ago, and this Sunday is Pentecost Sunday, and there were things in the sermon previously that made reference to that, so it's kind of easy. That's what I do a lot of times. I will either look up kind of a this day in history to see some inspiration of historical things that happened on a particular Sunday that I'm going to preach. Of course, that not being the thrust of the sermon, but just as something to inspire a nudge as to where, when you've got the whole of 66 books of the Bible to to choose from, and you don't really necessarily know the audience and what they need. I mean, you trust God's Spirit that He has something for them and what they need in this, but just becomes challenging, and so sometimes I rely on that. Other times, since I'm in Baptist churches primarily, I kind of cheat a little bit in that other high church liturgical traditions have a lectionary that gives readings and what their homily is supposed to be from, and so sometimes I'll just cheat and look up the lectionary for that particular Sunday and see what passages are there to give an inkling as to just a starting point to it's almost like the combination of the writer's block of trying to get started in a novel and the burden of that God wants to say something to His people. And so it's just a tricky thing, but I think I'm good for this coming Sunday. It's just hard because you're not really actually truly connected with the people. You're not really. You trust that you're doing your best to meet their needs, but you don't always have a guarantee of that. I'm also working on a new cosplay kit. I was inspired by a couple of things recently. One, of course, the Snake Eyes movie. Of course, it's not Snake Eyes. It's actually his sort of nemesis since the cinematic sort of universe has opened up. But this was actually more my favorite character back when I was a kid watching the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero cartoon. The other precipitating fact was I was going to hold off on doing this cosplay kit until I got into the shape that I wanted to be to portray this character. And I know cosplay is not one of those things that has a particular body type or body image, but I was caught in that trap mentally of just trying to find characters that either I naturally resembled with my look, or that they didn't really look like anybody because of the way that you would have to do the costume. And so I've resisted some others, and I was wanting to get down to a certain weight for this character, but it's just not going to happen in the time frame, and so I'm being challenged on that in a sense in my own mind. But it's Storm Shadow, the classic A Real American Hero version. The voice actor that voiced Storm Shadow, from my memories of as a child watching G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Keon Young, is going to be at the Mississippi Comic-Con at the end of June. And so it's just enough time for me to do that. I had an old gi from one of my many failed attempts at being a martial artist. This one mainly because I moved and there was nowhere teaching the school that I had before. But I took the old gi that I had from those days, which is actually too small for me now. But I cut the sleeves off so that it would look more like Storm Shadow's short-sleeved gi, and we're eventually going to add some form of way to close this. We'll add the Cobra logo. I've got a balaclava and some other things. Also, you got all these old masks. Why not put them to use? Well, when I looked at it, I was like, unfortunately, this is the white version of the mask, but it's kind of gray, if you see. So what I'm working on for that is I will be attaching kind of a cover up because it fits just right, but if I have the covering, it's just what I need for that one. So I'll be working on Storm Shadow, even though I guess kind of like Fat Thor, this will be Fat Storm Shadow. But anyway, so there's that, and then also, of course, the Snake Eyes movies coming out, and I don't know that I've ever done one where I've actually worn a costume of a character related to a film that I was going to go see, so I might do that. I don't know. Depends on how it turns out. I'm still trying to find some large enough gi pants, the right type of shoes, and then once I think I've got those core pieces in, then I'll work on fabricating weapons and such, and maybe we'll do some videos on some of that. Another thing that's had me kind of down lately is I had been doing my Ainsley's Angels races, and I was pushing a certain person at each one of them, like 3 different races in April. And here at the end of May is a race that I enjoy. It's for a historical aviation museum there in Monroe, the Chanel. I never know how to say the man's name, but anyway, suffice to say, there's an aviation, like World War aviation museum there, and this is kind of a fundraiser for that museum. I was going to be pushing my same person that I'd pushed through most of April for the Ainsley's Angels, but unfortunately the weekend of the race conflicts with my youngest son's birthday, and while I guess technically I could probably get done with the race and get ready and get to the other, the problem is that the time that his birthday party would start on that day really doesn't leave enough time for me to get changed and do. And so I technically, if I really tried, I could probably get some of those like shower wipe sort of things, but I'd still feel kind of nasty being there at the birthday after having done a 5K. Even though I just walk right now, I'm not really running a whole lot, but I mean, as hot as it's getting now, kind of sweat. So last thing is, today's getting to the deadline for my son's school today. So they do an online school, and they have to have all their stuff turned in for this semester by midnight that they're going to turn in. And so whatever the grade is when 12:00 hits, that's pretty much where they are for this semester. And I haven't exactly been thrilled with their motivation as students. And I get it, it's been a tough year, but they've been online students for 4 or 5 years now, maybe even more. And I guess I just kind of feel like a bad parent and don't know what the right way is, because either on one hand, you're being the overbearing perfectionist. You got to get it done. You got to get it done exactly right. And I know that's not right, but we've also tried to take the other tack of, if you're going to do it, it's going to be you, and you got to learn. And right now, it looks like it's going to be pretty rough. I think the thing that also kind of tore my guts out recently was the fact that my oldest, of course, he's getting close to that college, looking at college where he's going to go age, and he got his first ACT results back, and I had been a math teacher. I got my certification in it back in 2012, and taught a little bit, probably about 3 or 4 years teaching as a secondary, like middle school through high school math teacher. And his lowest subject area score was in math. And so I know not everybody likes math or digs math. I mean, I didn't even like the fact that I had skill in it when I was a kid, but it's just another one of those hard things, knowing how much to push and how much not to, and lay off and let them grow up and be the kid that they're going to be the young adult that they're going to be. not supposed to be like everyone else, Sam. Everyone fails at who they're supposed to be. The measure of a person, of a hero, is how well they succeed in being who they are. I guess I'm still trying to figure that one out. So, till next time, keep it PG.